Alright guys, we're back with another waiver wire video so I can help you find the best and most important players to add to your teams. And we have a great list this week. There's a huge breakout pitcher, 2 more prospect call-ups. Always going to keep highlighting these post-hype guys. But first, before we get into it, if you guys are not already, please subscribe to the channel down below. Drop the video a like. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments. And remember, channel memberships are open for personalized fantasy advice. Also, big shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's video. This waiver wire video is a weekly series on this channel. I always started out with the big list, which is 5 deep, dense player profiles on guys I'm really looking at this week, followed by breakout sections that can help you guys in any type of fantasy baseball league you play in, like a section for shallow leagues, section for deep leagues, talk about closers, talk about players you can stash, talk about players you can drop, everything you need to know about fantasy baseball in this video every single week. All right, the first player on the big list this week is Dustin May, starting pitcher on the Cardinals. I got to tell you guys right now, priority ad. Dustin May is really good right now. He's taking a few genuine steps forward already this season, and I want him on every single fantasy team in any league where he even might be available, because the ship might have already sailed, but he's coming off the best start of his career this past week, a complete game shutout against the Padres, where he struck out 9 batters, only allowed 1 hit and 1 walk, was just completely dominant. And I think the biggest thing that we have to look at with Dustin May and why he's taken this, again, multiple massive steps forward is finally, 1, being healthy after all these years, but 2, really genuinely just widening out his pitch mix. Especially last year when he came back from his very long layoff between 2021 and 2024. Over those 4 full seasons, he threw under 100 innings because of just a myriad of injuries I'm going to tell you about a little bit later. But he was so sinker, sweeper dominant. Those 2 pitches accounted for basically every single thing that he threw, especially through the first half of that season, and just became very repetitive, and the kind of thing where you could kind of play chicken with Dustin May. You figured out you would get one of those pitches in any spot, eventually just hit him, or he would just wind up walking you. Then, as last season went along and he was traded to the Red Sox, and now a very infamous trade with the Dodgers, he finally found the feel for his cutter, and that cutter has been a key weapon for him this year to take some pressure off his 4-seam fastball. That 4-seamer by Dustin May, while it's always had very good velocity, it doesn't really have a good shape. It doesn't really ever miss bats. It has a lot more arm side run on it, so especially a pitch like that when he would focus on his sinker for righties, that 4-seamer for lefties, it just didn't have a good shape to get them. It would bleed over the middle of the plate, get barrel. Now with this new cutter, again, taking a lot of pressure off that pitch. So far this season, its usage against left-handed batters is practically even with that fastball at 30%. And if you look at this chart here about how much more he's throwing this cutter over his last few starts, the usage really sharply rose about a month ago when May went on this big hot streak. And I have a great quote here from May speaking with my colleague at NBC Sports, Eric Samolsky, this past week, talking about the emergence of that cutter. May saying right here, thought it was something that we liked, the shape of that cutter, and we just didn't think we were using it enough, again, which helps explain that really nice uptick in usage lately. Then once he started to use it more, definitely felt like it weakened contact a lot. I feel like it's a very good get me back into the count pitch. I feel like it's a good get me out of a jam pitch. And he said, again, it's been big for him so far. Past that cutter and May's growing confidence in it, his changeup and curveball also been showing up in a very big way against left-handed batters. Just, again, more wrinkles in his repertoire for a guy that heading into the season didn't feel like he really had much of a bag against lefties. Also on top of everything else, May's sweeper, his longtime bread and butter, still super nasty. Now he's able to sneak up on hitters a little more with it, getting tons and tons of swings and misses. All in all, this is a good starting pitcher. This is a starting pitcher who has a weapon for everyone. This is a starting pitcher who can pitch from ahead, can pitch from behind, is pitching in front of a really good defense with a really good home park. He's just good. I'm pretty confident to say that Dustin May is going to be around a top 50 starting pitcher for the rest of the season. And also, it is just nice to see him back on the mound, consistent and healthy again. Just his laundry list of injuries is crazy. Tommy John surgery in 2021, missed most of 2022, came back towards the end of that season, had some problems with back flare-ups. Then he tore his flexor tendon in 23. He missed almost all of 2024. And while he was recovering from that flexor tendon, he had some crazy freak injury happen where he was eating dinner. I think it was out in Arizona where he lives or stays or was training or something. Tore his esophagus eating dinner, had to be rushed to the hospital, couldn't breathe, wound up spending 11 days in the hospital. It's been a mess for Dustin May, even all the struggles he went through last year. His stuff is nasty. He still throws really hard. He's a really good pitcher and one that we should be very excited about at this moment. Now, before we get to the next player, a word from today's sponsor. PrizePicks, America's #1 sports picks app. And if you guys are not on PrizePicks yet, here's why you should be. First up, the app is super simple. You just pick more or less on a few player stats. You lock your lineup. That's it. You're in. That's all you need right there. There are no complicated strategies. There are no confusing interfaces. It really is just you, your sports knowledge, and your picks. And I've had so much fun so far making lineups for the World Cup. Just such an unbelievable tournament. I love watching it every single day. And of course, there are so many baseball lineups to play every single day on Prize Picks. And if you guys want to keep up with my picks in real time, make sure you're following me on the app with my username right here. But the best part, if you're a new user to Prize Picks, you can get $50 worth of lineups just for playing your first $5 lineup. All you have to do is go into the link in my description, download the Prize Picks app, and sign up with the promo code HMA. That's promo code HMA, and if you play your first $5 lineup, you're getting $50 worth of lineups. And Prize Picks available in most states. We got Florida, Texas, California, New York. So check it out. Use the promo code HMA, and please, guys, make sure you're only playing if you know you can do so responsibly. Now, next up on the big list is Cole Carrig, center fielder on the Rockies. And Carrig had a massive first few days in the league, hitting 2 home runs, having 4 RBIs across his first 4 games. All those games coming either at home for the Rockies at Coors Field or in Las Vegas playing in the biggest bandbox we've ever seen in baseball against the Athletics. Then he hit another 3-run home run a few days later. That happened in Chicago at Wrigley Field. And this is something that Carrig definitely has. Power. That's a carrying tool. Power and athleticism. But plus bat speed in a small sample, flirted with around 20 home runs in each of his last 2 minor league seasons, has a really, really nice prospect savant page right here. You can see nice exit velocities, plenty of hard hit balls, nice collection of hard hit balls too, does that very consistently. We also know that Carrig in the minor leagues this past season can lift it, he can pull it, makes pretty good swing decisions, and as of this past season, finally had really good bat-to-ball skills. That was the kind of thing that we always thought could hold Carrig back. That's why he at one time had pretty legitimate prospect shine that faded, a big swing and miss issue. Also, what just happened at AAA this year, that was in the Pacific Coast League, the most hitter-friendly minor league league by far across all professional baseball. But again, I digress. We want to focus on that play discipline and just Carrig's hit tool in general. Over his first week as a big leaguer, he has been chasing lots of pitches out of the strike zone. Fangraphs only gave him a 30-40 grade for his hit tool. That is the thing that, again, hasn't been thought of that could possibly hold him back. Chase also was a bit high in the minors, and over the last few years, his swing strike rate was considered kind of almost getting close to being out of control before this year, where it looked like it got much better, but that also happened in the PCL, so a bit of a grain of salt. At the end of the day, though, this is still a player we like to bet on. Just playing in Coors Field helps a lot, but he's a big-time athlete, tooled up, really good center fielder, could even mix it up at shortstop at times, very, very, very fast, and like we said before, powerful. So worst-case scenario, we're probably getting a high ceiling, low floor, power speed option. And again, that's not someone who I'm going to tell you is a must-add, but if you're in a 12-team league and you want to take a shot on a guy like that, I probably will many times in waiver wires this weekend. And I also love that starting on Monday, the Rockies are playing 10 of their next 13 games at Coors Field. So nice landing spot for Carrig to possibly get a hot streak and see what happens next. Next up's another fun prospect call-up, Christian Moore, second baseman, now utility guy, played some outfield, did some DH with the Angels. He just got called back up after torching AAA this season, where in 51 games, he had 9 home runs, 10 stolen bases, and a 330, 470, 580 slash line. Also, again, this happened in the Pacific Coast League at Salt Lake City for the Salt Lake Bees, the Angels AAA team. One of the most gorgeous minor league ballparks in the whole league. I've watched a couple games there. You have Purple Mountains right beyond the outfield. Beautiful, but also one of the best hitting environments on earth. So again, all these stats taken with a grain of salt. But looking at Moore's prospect savant page, really good, really nice batted ball data, lots of red ink, and also a really nice collection of high exit velocities, as you guys can see right here, again, at that level. But the big thing that's getting me a little more motivated than I think I would be or would have been last year for Christian Moore is that it seems like we have had some nice genuine changes in his bat-to-ball ability. Right here, I'm going to compare his prospect savant pages from the last 2 seasons. You're seeing way more contact, far less swing and miss, much more contact in the zone, and better quality of contact. Not even just in the hard hit balls and the collection of high exit velocities, but his ability to lift the ball and pull the ball more often. Now I definitely want to see this in an extended run at the big league level. I think he will get an extended run. The Angels are starved for any good baseball players whatsoever, and Moore was called up with the corresponding move of Mike Trout going on the injured list, so we want to see how sticky this is, but bottom line, he definitely has plus bat speed, he definitely has plus power, he definitely has real foot speed. Just similar to Carrig, is going to be those massive hit tool concerns. Next up on the big list, we have another pitcher. It's Sean Manaea of the Mets. And I really patently thought Sean Manaea was cooked up until like 3 or 4 weeks ago. He came into spring training still with loose bodies in his elbow, an injury he struggled with last year. Injury that he really never got off the ground last year, with a 5.64 ERA across 60 innings, moving kind of between like a bulk starter coming in sometimes for an opener. Like it was a very weird, haphazard season for Sean Manaea. coming off signing a huge contract, coming off being a hero for the Mets in 2024. While he struggled so badly, he still struck out nearly 29% of the hitters he faced, walked fewer than 5%. That 24% strikeout minus walk rate kind of indicated to us that if the stuff could return anyway, he was still able to miss bats and be effective. But again, coming through spring training in the early part of this season, his fastball was sitting around 89 miles per hour, which is untenably slow. And he was just a $25 million a year mop-up guy, only coming in to pitch in massive blowouts where whatever he did wouldn't impact the results of the game. But he has snapped back recently. Velocity is back to hanging out around 91 to 92 miles per hour, which is massive for Manaea. That doesn't even seem fast. It's not fast. But he's such a big guy and has such massive extension that 91, 92 perceived can get up to 93, 94, 95. And you guys can see clear as day right now comparing these two charts of his stats, Sean Manaea. One of these are fastballs harder than 91 miles per hour, and one are fastballs slower than 91 miles per hour. The whiff rate doubles, the quality of contact goes through the roof, goes from a positive run value to a negative run value. It's just everything. That velocity on Sean Manaea's fastball means everything to his effectiveness. Earlier in the season, he did not have it. Now he has that. We really should be paying attention. On top of that, his sweeper still misses tons of bats against hitters from each side of the plate. He's brought back his sinker now to be a nice added weapon against left-handed batters. He was really good on Thursday night, working that pitch inside against the Phillies' heavy left-handed lineup. He's also flirting with a changeup and a new cutter just to give right-handed batters something else to think about. Some appearances, he uses them, each of them, and they can be good. Sometimes he kind of gets away from them when the fastball and the sweeper are effective enough. Bottom line, he's back to at least being a decent pitcher, and we're not that far removed from Sean Manaea being a standout pitcher. I don't know if we're ever getting back to that spot, but he's elevated himself for me right now, where he's definitely a streamer in 12-team leagues, and I'm starting to think that he could be a bench streamer, someone I want on my team to use for his home starts. Francisco Lindor is coming back probably in the next week or two. The Mets defense has been much improved this season. The ballpark's still great to pitch in. I'm very, very intrigued by Sean Manaea in 12-team leagues at this moment. Last up on the big list, Jason Dominguez, outfielder on the Yankees. I am choosing to continue to believe. I'm way back to the well with Jason Dominguez. I think too many people are out on this. I think Jason Dominguez, the weird kind of stuff around his fame as a teenager and all the baseball card stuff, kind of detracts from the fact that he's still a very talented 23-year-old who's going to be in the Yankees lineup every single day, and I think probably in a prominent lineup spot. But even just an annoying season so far for Dominguez, when he got called up a month ago and it looked like he was going to get a shot to play nearly every single day, ran to the wall, sprained the shoulder, out for a month. Then this week, when he's back in the lineup every single day, Aaron Judge is on the injury list for a long period of time, meaning Dominguez will be in this lineup every single day. He has to get a tooth pulled for an emergency reason, but again, he was ridiculously good at AAA this season. There's no real holes in his profile at all. He made really good swing decisions, tons of contact, with a bunch of power and plenty of speed. And again, he's still just 23 years old. Christian Moore, who we just talked about getting a shot still as a rookie after getting a cup of coffee last year, he's older than Jason Dominguez. J.J. Weatherholt, a rookie sensation on the Cardinals, is older than Jason Dominguez. He's multiple years younger, Dominguez is, than his teammate Spencer Jones, who had a hot week, who's starting to get some shine right now. Jason Dominguez is even 1 month younger than his rookie outfield counterpart on the Mets, Carson Bench, who just got called up as his first time in the majors this year after only spending 1 year in the minor leagues. We sometimes get prospect fatigue. It happens a lot. This happened to an extreme degree with Jason Dominguez over the last few years, where, again, we've seen power and speed at the major league level. I don't really need to see much more than that when a guy's an everyday role in a great ballpark. He hit second on Friday night for the Yankees against a right-handed pitcher. Just don't leave him on your waiver wire in a 12-team league if you need some help in the outfield. And in some leagues, I'm going to try and fit him on my bench. Just try and get lightning in a bottle. Now, that's the end of the big list this week. But like I told you guys at the top, now it's time for breakout sections that can help you in any kind of league you might play in. Starting out with the shallow league section. These are players who are not rostered enough in ESPN-based leagues. That's where these rostership rates come from. ESPN.com fantasy baseball leagues. I got to start out like I do every single week with Tyler Soderstrom. He's been one of the best hitters in baseball over the last 4 weeks. You guys were asking me questions about if you should drop him through April and the first part of May. I'm really happy you didn't, because right now you have a monster. Same goes for Bo Bichette, who I was really open with on this channel that I couldn't properly evaluate him because I was letting too much of my Mets bias seep in, because at $42 million a year, he was one of the worst players in baseball. He's had a 10-day stretch right now where he's almost elevated his stats to like where we're getting kind of close, where he's looking almost kind of normal. He's on fire. The Mets lineup has taken a nice step forward, especially with Lindor coming back next week. Even around 80% for these guys rostered. If you're listening to me on this channel, it should be near 100. 8-team leagues, 16 leagues. These guys need to be on your team. Reed Detmers, I've been banging the drum for over the last the entire season, basically. He's on fire right now. 60% roster is way too low. Jeremy Pena, Wyatt Langford, two guys who have spent time on the injured list, and Langford starting the season really, really cold. Langford himself, I mean, these guys are both on fire right now. Langford looks like he could just take a step forward, nobody's looking. And Pena is easily a top 10 shortstop for fantasy baseball. No reason these guys should be left on the wire. Peyton Tolley, Zach Geloff, two other guys who've been in a lot of videos recently. Tolley is just so calmly, collectively, and coolly a top 30 starting pitcher in fantasy baseball. No reason to be under 50% rostered. Geloff has now hit leadoff in 2 straight games for the Athletics. He's going to rack up tons of stats there. Wilson Contreras has easily been a top 10 valuable first baseman fantasy this year. And now a collection of young players. Again, don't leave these guys in the waiver wire. Do not forget about them. Jack Caglione's blazing hot over the last 2 weeks for the Royals. Bryce Eldridge looks like one of the best hitters in baseball right now for the Giants. I know he's UT only in a lot of places, but you got to wedge him into your UT spot. At least put him on your bench. See if something happens there. Carson Bench hitting 300 over the last basically 6 weeks for the Mets. And Henry Balte, he has an 800 OPS and a 300 batting average over his first month of Major League action. I know the power hasn't really come yet, but the bat speed is really high. He's hitting the ball really hard, but on the ground. And kind of like we've said with Soderstrom and all the Athletics hitters this year, you just want those guys in your team, because especially now that it's summer and it's 100 degrees every day in Sacramento, the ball is flying out there. Unbelievable offensive environment. Next up, we have the closer report. I want to start the closer report this week talking about some struggling guys you guys ask me a lot of questions about. First up is Andres Munoz. He's just too good of a reliever, and the Mariners are too good of a team for us to seriously consider dropping him. The injury scare this past week made that kind of more reality, but he's not going to go anywhere. It's just kind of the nature of a pitcher like Munoz, who is so breaking balls, his slider, dominant, throws up like almost 60% of the time with not the best command anyway. And for his whole career, he's run 10% walk rates. It's what's always stopped him from actually getting to the elite closer level. It's why last year I ranked him like 6th or 7th on my closer list, and you guys yelled at me because he only allowed like 2 runs the whole season. But I was like, this is just, you're going to be a bit more erratic in nature when you pitch the way that Munoz does, despite having 100-mile-an-hour heat. David Bednar is another one. Bednar has some natural inconsistencies because he's a splitter reliever. That's kind of rare, and splitters are inconsistent pitches in nature, but he's been hot again lately. Trevor McGill, horrible start to the season, has been much more consistent over the last 3 weeks, month or so, and now he's definitely firmly the closer back, where Abner Uribe is moving more to a setup role. And Pete Fairbanks, while it looked like he was losing his grip on that closer job over the last few weeks, he's had a few decent outings in a row. He's saved consecutive wins for the Marlins. I think he's a guy who's maintaining that job. Now look at some closers who are elevating themselves into this role. Yoendrys Gomez, he's got decent stuff. He seems to have taken the closer job on the Twins. I like him. I don't love him. Elvis Alvarado, he throws 103 miles per hour. He has like closer look and feel, and he's going to be the closer on the Athletics. It seems like moving forward now that Jack Perkins is back in the rotation full time, but it's terrifying to have a closer in that ballpark, especially one that has had some wavering command issues and definitely could have a home run issue. So you have to treat Alvarado kind of like 15-20% more kindly than you would treat a Rockies closer in the past. With Daniel Palencia going back on the injured list for the Cubs, Jacob Webb seems like he's going to be the closer there. But I do think Caleb Thielbar will still maintain some closer value, getting saves against left-handed, heavy ninth-inning lineups. And lastly, I keep talking about Alex Lang. He's getting tons of save opportunities for the Royals because they don't really score any runs. So when they do actually win games, they win them like 2-1, 3-2. Like they just can't score enough runs to actually not have save opportunities, but it's an adventure every time he's on the mound. I don't know if he can hold that closer job very long. Next up, we have the stash list for minor leaguers and injured players. If there's one minor leaguer to stash right now, it's Josh Baez from the Cardinals. Big-time power, speed threat. Just had a 4-homer game. Yeah, a 4-homer game in AAA this past week. He's going to get a shot on the Cardinals at some point this season. We keep talking about Kate Anderson because he's the best minor league pitcher in baseball right now. But the Mariners also have too many pitchers there is. They're doing this weird thing where they keep piggybacking Bryce Miller and Luis Castillo, where Bryce Miller is looks like one of the best pitchers in baseball right now, and Castillo looks dreadful. It destroyed them on Friday night, but if you have an NA spot, I would still be stashing Kate Anderson because it might happen. If you don't have a spot like that, I think there's still not enough that we know about the future of the Mariners rotation to stash a guy like Anderson despite his massive talent. New member of the stash list this week, more of a deeper league stash, Henry Mendez, outfielder in the Twins organization. It feels like the Twins are going to give some of these young outfielders a chance this year, but Emmanuel Rodriguez and Walker Jenkins have been injured for a chunk of time. So Mendez crushing AAA, came over in the Harrison Bader trade at the deadline last season. Again, smashing AAA, might get a shot. Mick Abel looks like he will be activated also by the Twins at some point this week. He crushes rehab assignment. And then stars who are on their way back, Blake Snell, Hunter Green, Francisco Lindor. I don't think any of these guys are going to be available in most of your guys' leagues, but again, these are all stars. These are all like top 4 or 5 round draft picks when we're in draft season. So you want them on your team for when they return. Then a couple Brewers here I'm keeping a close eye on. Logan Henderson should be back off the injured list over the next 2-3 weeks or so based on what we're hearing. And Chad Patrick is disgusting. I watched him come in relief for, who was that? Who was that on Wednesday night? I forgot who started for the Brewers, but they didn't pitch very well. Oh, it was Brandon Sproat. Sproat cruised through the first few innings, then gave up a grand slam. Chad Patrick came in against the Guardians. Also, the Guardians have like a AAA lineup right now. So if you have any pitcher against the Guardians without Jose Ramirez, Chase DeLauder, and Angel Martinez, who all fractured the bone in the same game last week, you want to get them into your lineup. But Patrick just came in 96, 97, cutters and fastballs, made the lineup look like a Little League lineup. If he gets a shot to start, this happens with the Brewers all the time. They kind of build these guys up, pitching in long relief. They kind of get their confidence a huge boost. If a guy like him gets in the rotation, I think he'll be nasty. Now we have the Deep League ads, starting out with two guys who just barely missed the big list this week. Matt McClain is finally actually starting to heat up for the Reds. The power and the speed were always there, but now the bat to ball is a lot better. He's got like a 20% barrel rate over his last 4 weeks of play. I think he's a guy definitely to watch. Paul Goldschmidt has worked his way into not just an everyday role in the Yankees, but like a top third of the lineup everyday role with the Yankees. He has the 9th highest OPS in all of baseball since May 1st. Can't believe that, but he's been highly productive as an old man. Sean Burke, I like Sean Burke on the White Sox. He's got a fun fastball, decent pitch mix off that. I think there's a chance he out-earns his teammate Davis Martin rest of the season. Just had the best start of his career this week against the Yankees. I'm still keeping an eye on Ian Seymour as he transitions into a starting role with the Rays. Griffin Jackson Welch had a nice start on Friday. Jake Bennett, if he can hang in this Red Sox rotation, I think he can because some of the injuries they're going through. He's a fun lefty with really good extension, a mid-90s, low 90s, but kind of can stretch to mid-90s fastball sometimes, and really good changeup. When his command is on, like it was this past week against the Blue Jays, he's nice. Andre Palante from the Cardinals, just nice. Tatsuya Imai just had his best start as a big leaguer on Friday night. I don't remember who was against. Who was that against? Imai's start. Oh, the Guardians. Again, that horrible lineup. But we saw that backward slider really shine for the first time. First, like real time like this, where it can just keep an entire repertoire on its shoulders. That pitch alone for 17 swings and misses. He had 11 strikeouts in 6 innings. And I like that it looked like Imai's start was going to go off the rails again when he gave up 3 runs in the 3rd inning. He settled in, took a deep breath, composed himself, and fought through for, again, his best start as a big leaguer. Then we've had some nice prospect call-ups over the last week. The two I'm the most intrigued by are Cooper Pratt from the Brewers and Blaze Jordan from the Cardinals. Pratt's going to be the everyday shortstop now for the Brewers. I don't know how much power he's going to show at the big league level, but he's definitely going to show some speed if that helps you in your leagues, and he's just making a lot of contact. And then Blaze Jordan made some nice changes over the last year in the minor league system. Has good bat speed, good bat to ball. He's getting to his power. He's fun if you really need a corner infielder, but I don't think either of these two guys right now I'm expecting to really be big lease players yet. But in the next week or so, maybe they could be. And then some more lower grade prospect call-ups. Samad Taylor on the Padres. Padres just desperate for anything, and Taylor has speed. He's going to play every day. Then Khalil Watson on the Guardians. Was once a first-round pick and a highly touted prospect. The shine's faded. You're going to get power, speed, and swing and miss. So in a very deep league, I think Watson can be useful. Also, Daniel Schneemann. I said before, all the Guardians are hurt right now, so anyone's going to get a shot in that lineup. Schneemann's the guy who looks like he's going to be playing every day right now. He's like a 15, 16 team relevant player. He's just going to put his bat in the ball, sneak into some power and some speed. Tristan Peters, I talk about him most weeks. He's a very solid center fielder in the White Sox who is hitting well right now. Marcus Semien has quietly been pretty hot for the Mets. I think in a 14, 15, 16 team league, he probably is relevant as a second baseman. And I want to shout out John Rave. Called up by the Royals this past week, back in the lineup every single day. He's flashed on some weird leaderboards I made, especially through draft season, as having good bat speed, good plate discipline, and good game power. He's the kind of guy I can see getting hot and again, being 16, 15, 14 team relevant. Now, I've given you guys so many players to add, I have to give you some to drop. Starting out with two guys who I don't think it's worth holding them with trips to the injured list, Vinny Pasquantino and Spencer Strider. I've been telling you guys in 10-team leagues to drop Vinny P for like a solid month and a half now. I think now's definitely the time to do so. And Strider just wasn't really that good when he was healthy. He's like a streamer anyway. So if he's a streamer and now he's injured, not worth holding. Ildemaro Vargas, we'll never forget April Ildemaro Vargas, but now he's back to being really, really not so good. Then a lot of other bad things happening with the Diamondbacks lately. Ryan Walschmidt sent down. He had a pretty good start to his major league career, then he couldn't get to any power, swinging missing a lot, so of course drop him. Ryan Nelson looks like he's going to be out for a while. I think it was a shoulder injury. Andrew Painter sent down by the Phillies, not worth holding him for anything because he was terrible. Chase DeLauder, again, another guy who in a 10-team league, probably not really worth holding him through a fractured rib. He just has been really not that good since that great power barrage of the first weekend of the season. And then we're going to keep highlighting these struggling veterans. Guys like Mookie Betts, Alex Bregman, George Springer. I'm really not that obsessed with holding them in 10-team leagues right now. Mookie's the guy I want to hold on to the most just because he's Mookie fucking Betts. But in a 10-team league, there's so many good shortstops out there and so many good utility options. I just wouldn't be holding him if you thought you had a really good option in the waiver wire to switch him with. But that's the waiver wire video this week, guys. Thank you for bearing with me. I don't know when this is getting up. I'm actually recording this Saturday morning, which is really late for this video, but the Knicks parade just took it all out of me on Thursday, so I was dead as a doornail on Friday, so I couldn't really get to this as quickly as I wanted to. But thank you guys so much. Again, I'm going to start to fold in more regular baseball content into this channel as just fewer and fewer eyeballs care about fantasy baseball. Thank you guys all for sticking with me. these videos, while they're not doing as well as they did early in the season, are still doing great. I'm really honored by that. I'm happy to help you guys. And we're going to have fantasy baseball content here all season. It's just not going to be the entire channel like it has been for the last 3 months. But thank you guys so much again. I'll see you next time.